Did celestial beings truly descend from heaven to mate with human women, forever altering the course of mankind? Has the truth about these fallen angels been deliberately suppressed by religious authorities afraid of what their existence might reveal about God's imperfect creation? Could the technological advancements of ancient civilizations be evidence that the Watchers shared forbidden knowledge from the heavens, violating divine law? In the shadowed corridors of ancient texts lies a tale so controversial that many religious authorities have sought to conceal it from the faithful. The Book of Enoch, excluded from canonical scripture yet referenced in the New Testament itself, unveils a cosmic rebellion that may shatter conventional understanding of humanity's relationship with the divine. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men and beget us children. These words from Enoch describe beings known as the Watchers, Aramaic, Irin, celestial entities assigned to observe humanity who instead abandoned their sacred duty. The traditional narrative that angels are purely spiritual beings incapable of carnal desire crumbles when confronted with these ancient accounts. Could it be that heavenly beings possess free will and passions similar to humans? This question undermines the rigid hierarchy of creation taught by orthodox religious institutions. If angels can rebel and fall, what does this reveal about the perfection of God's design? The leader of these fallen Watchers, Samayaza, also called Shemahaza, bound his 200 followers in an oath upon Mount Hermon. This pact, to take human wives and bear children with them, represents perhaps the greatest transgression in cosmic order, the deliberate blurring of boundaries between the celestial and terrestrial realms. The Book of Enoch names 18 chief Watchers, including figures like Azazel, Armoros, and Gadriel, each bringing specific forbidden knowledge to humanity. What threatens established religious doctrine is not merely that these angels fell, but why they fell. Unlike Lucifer's rebellion born of pride and ambition, the Watchers fell through desire, through love or lust for human women. This introduces a profoundly disturbing question. If divine beings could find humanity so irresistible that they would forsake heaven itself, does this not suggest that creation may possess attractions that even paradise cannot offer? The Book of Jubilees provides another perspective, suggesting that God sent the Watchers to earth specifically to instruct humanity in righteousness and justice, only for them to corrupt themselves. This account raises even more troubling questions about divine foresight. Did the Creator not anticipate this outcome? Or worse, was this corruption somehow part of a greater design? Archaeological discoveries throughout Mesopotamia reveal striking parallels to the Watchers' narrative. Sumerian texts speak of the Anunnaki, divine beings who came to earth and shared advanced knowledge with humans. The Babylonian tradition records the Apkallu, 7 sages from before the flood who taught wisdom to mankind. These cross-cultural consistencies suggest either a common historical event or a profound psychological truth embedded in human consciousness across civilizations. The punishment of the Watchers described in Enoch is severe, bound in chains beneath the earth until the final judgment. The Archangel Gabriel is commanded to destroy the children of the Watchers from amongst men, while Michael binds Samayaza and his associates in the valleys of the earth. This cosmic intervention suggests that the union between divine and human was viewed as an existential threat to creation itself. Early church fathers like Tertullian and Justin Martyr accepted the literal existence of the Watchers, viewing them as the origin of demonic influence in the world. It was only later, as Christianity sought to systematize its theology, that interpretations shifted toward viewing these accounts as allegorical. This convenient reframing allowed religious authorities to maintain control over a narrative that otherwise threatened foundational beliefs about the separation between divine and human spheres. Modern religious scholars often dismiss the Watchers' narrative as mythological adaptation from neighboring cultures. Yet this explanation fails to account for why early Judeo-Christian communities preserved and transmitted these texts with such reverence. If these were merely borrowed myths, why does the New Testament itself reference the Book of Enoch as prophetic? The Epistle of Jude directly quotes Enoch regarding the judgment of these fallen angels, granting implicit canonical authority to this controversial account. The identity of the Watchers thus presents us with a profound theological dilemma. If we accept their existence as literal, we must reconsider fundamental assumptions about cosmic order. If we dismiss them as metaphorical, we must explain why ancient sacred texts treated them with such historical seriousness. Either way, the comfortable boundaries between heaven and earth, divine and human, become disturbingly permeable. From the forbidden union of celestial beings and mortal women emerged creatures that defy conventional categorization, the Nephilim. These hybrid offspring represent perhaps the most tangible evidence of divine intervention in human genetics, a bloodline that challenges both religious dogma and scientific understanding of our species' development. Genesis 6 verse 4 briefly acknowledges their existence. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. This tantalizingly brief reference in canonical scripture has been systematically downplayed by religious authorities. Yet it confirms the presence of these extraordinary beings in human history. The Book of Enoch elaborates on these hybrids in disturbing detail. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. These were not merely tall humans but something fundamentally different, a new form of consciousness on Earth, one that combined angelic intelligence with human physicality. Archaeological evidence across multiple continents presents us with an uncomfortable question. Could the countless myths of giants found in virtually every ancient culture actually preserve historical memory rather than mere fantasy? From the enormous skeletons reportedly discovered in the American Midwest during the 19th century, many allegedly seized by the Smithsonian Institution and subsequently lost, to the massive stone structures around the world that seem to defy construction by normal human capability, physical evidence suggestive of giant beings persists despite institutional reluctance to investigate these findings. The Greek legends of the Titans, the Norse Jotnar, the Gigantes of Roman mythology, all describe beings of extraordinary size and power who preceded conventional humanity. Are we to believe that every ancient culture independently invented the same mythological concept? Or is it more rational to consider that these worldwide accounts preserve cultural memory of actual beings that once walked among us? The genetic implications are even more profound. If angelic beings could reproduce with humans, this suggests biological compatibility that shatters the supposed barrier between spiritual and physical realms. Modern genetic science, with its discovery of junk DNA and unexplained evolutionary leaps in human development, provides a potential scientific framework for understanding how non-human genetic material might have been introduced into our ancestral line. The Book of Jubilees describes how the Nephilim became violent and began to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. This account of cannibalism among these hybrid beings suggests a fundamental instability in their nature, perhaps the inevitable result of combining incompatible forms of consciousness. Their physical power, combined with spiritual knowledge inherited from their angelic fathers, made them virtually unstoppable by ordinary humans. Biblical scholars have long debated whether the Great Flood was specifically targeted at eradicating the Nephilim bloodline from Earth. The text suggests this interpretation. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created. Was this wickedness merely human sin, or was it the corruption of human genetics by angelic intrusion? Yet Genesis explicitly states the Nephilim existed also afterward, after the flood, suggesting that not all of this bloodline was eliminated. This raises the disturbing possibility that Nephilim genetics might persist in modern human populations. Could certain extraordinary abilities, unexplained physical anomalies, or even certain bloodlines that have dominated human history be traced back to this hybrid ancestry? Ancient Jewish texts describe the spirits of deceased Nephilim as the origin of demons, disembodied consciousnesses unable to find rest due to their hybrid nature. This connection between the Nephilim and ongoing supernatural phenomena suggests their influence extended beyond their physical existence on Earth, continuing to affect humanity from the spiritual realm. The systematic suppression of archaeological evidence relating to giant humanoid remains by academic institutions raises troubling questions about why this particular area of inquiry faces such resistance. When farmers or construction workers occasionally unearth anomalous skeletal remains of extraordinary size, why are these findings so quickly dismissed or confiscated rather than subjected to rigorous scientific examination? If we dare to consider the Nephilim as historical beings rather than mythological constructs, we must confront the possibility that human history as currently taught is fundamentally incomplete. The emergence and disappearance of these hybrids would represent the most significant intervention in human development, one that religious institutions and scientific authorities alike seem determined to erase from our collective memory. The most profound legacy of the Watchers may not be their hybrid offspring, but the forbidden knowledge they imparted to humanity, celestial secrets that catalyzed an unprecedented leap in human civilization. This transmission of divine technology fundamentally altered our species' trajectory and may explain humanity's mysterious technological quantum leaps throughout history. The Book of Enoch explicitly catalogs these teachings. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them. Samjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings, Armoros the resolving of enchantments, Barakhijal taught astrology, Kokabel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Arakiel the signs of the earth, Shamziel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. This ancient text describes nothing less than a comprehensive technology transfer from celestial beings to early humans: warfare, metallurgy, medicine, astronomy, meteorology, agriculture, and cosmetics. The abrupt emergence of these sophisticated technologies in human civilization has confounded conventional archaeological models that rely on gradual evolutionary development. The sudden appearance of Sumerian civilization around 3800 BCE, with its advanced mathematics, writing system, astronomy, and complex social structure, has never been adequately explained by mainstream archaeology. These sophisticated systems seem to appear fully formed, without clear evolutionary precursors. Could this be evidence of the Watchers' intervention? The Sumerian king list itself refers to kingship descending from heaven, suggesting divine beings established their governmental systems. Similarly, the construction of megalithic structures worldwide, from the Great Pyramid of Giza to Puma Punku in Bolivia, demonstrates engineering precision that continues to baffle modern experts. The Great Pyramid incorporates mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio, contains astronomical alignments, and was built with such precision that modern tools would struggle to replicate its construction. The conventional explanation that these structures were built using copper tools and manual labor by cultures without written language or wheeled vehicles strains credulity. What makes this knowledge forbidden in biblical terms? The Book of Enoch is explicit. These technologies were not meant for humanity at this stage of development. Like giving advanced weapons to children, the premature introduction of celestial knowledge created a dangerous imbalance: technological power without corresponding spiritual and ethical development. This explains why these teachings were condemned by heaven despite their apparent benefits. The concept of forbidden knowledge appears across multiple religious traditions. The Greek myth of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give to humans and was eternally punished, parallels the Watchers' narrative. Both stories suggest that certain knowledge was deliberately withheld from humanity by divine decree, and accessing it constituted cosmic transgression. Ancient texts describe how this knowledge transfer corrupted humanity. And the whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. This suggests that advanced technology, divorced from spiritual wisdom, led to exploitation, violence, and environmental degradation, precisely the pattern we observe in our modern technological civilization. The archaeological record reveals unexplained technological anomalies that challenge conventional historical narratives. The Baghdad Battery, dated to approximately 250 BCE, appears to be an ancient electrical cell. The Antikythera mechanism, circa 100 BCE, displays astronomical calculation capabilities that wouldn't be redeveloped until the 14th century. Ancient Indian texts describe what appear to be aircraft and nuclear weapons. These artifacts and accounts suggest advanced knowledge appearing, disappearing, and reappearing throughout human history. The systematic suppression of anomalous archaeological findings that don't fit conventional historical narratives mirrors religious authorities' exclusion of books like Enoch from canonical scripture. Both institutions, academic and religious, appear committed to maintaining narratives that place human development on a steady, gradual evolutionary trajectory without external intervention. Modern technology's exponential growth rate, particularly since the mid-20th century, presents another anomaly that the Watcher's narrative might explain. If certain individuals throughout history have had access to fragments of this ancient celestial knowledge, it could account for the seemingly impossible intuitive leaps made by figures like Nikola Tesla, who claimed some of his most revolutionary ideas came to him in visions and dreams. The most troubling implication is that humanity's current technological crisis, our development of potentially civilization-ending technologies without corresponding ethical advancement, might be the inevitable result of this premature knowledge transfer. Nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and nanotechnology all represent powers that our moral development seems inadequate to control wisely. Ancient texts suggest that the Great Flood was specifically sent to cleanse the earth of the corruption introduced by the Watcher's teachings. If this account is historically accurate rather than allegorical, it raises an alarming question. As we approach similar levels of technological hubris and environmental degradation, might we be triggering cosmic corrective measures once again? The forbidden knowledge hypothesis offers a unified explanation for multiple historical anomalies. The nonlinear development of human technology, the similarities in megalithic architecture across disconnected civilizations, the persistence of advanced astronomical knowledge among pre-telescope cultures, and the strange technological amnesia that seems to occur between ancient civilizations, where advanced knowledge disappears only to be rediscovered centuries later. What if human history is not a story of steady progress from primitive to advanced, but rather a series of interventions, collapses, and recoveries, each cycle seeing the rediscovery of fragments of knowledge originally taught by these celestial beings in prehistory? This framework explains far more of the archaeological and historical record than conventional models, yet remains academically taboo precisely because it threatens established paradigms of human development.